It's the Shouting Men podcast. 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 Reviews, previews, stories old and new. A podcast about the Gills, just for you. Dedicated to the past, present, and future too. It's the Shouting Men podcast. Go grab a brew. It's the Shouting Men podcast. It's the Shouting Men podcast. It's the Shouting Men podcast. It's the Shouting Men podcast.
Well, that was a good start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Shouting Men podcast, which I've called Still Top because we are still top despite what happened against Grimsby Town last night. Joining me today is my regular co-host, David. David, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I just realised that the banner was right over Matt's face there and we couldn't see him. And our special guest today to talk about his experience with the Gills over the time he's been a fan of the Gills from the view from the Medway YouTube channel, Matt Olsen. Matt, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And I actually think that banner across my face looked really good. So if you want to put it back, might get you some more views.
So on today's show, like I said, we are going to be asking Matt some questions about his time as a fan of Gillingham Football Club, the highs, the lows. And yeah, we're just going to, this is what this channel is meant to be about, talking to fans, talking to ex-players, people involved in the club, and getting their view of how we've been as a club over the years. So, yeah, Matt, first of all, how long have you been a Gills fan?
Well, pretty much, all my life since the day I was born. I have family that have played for the club. I've had family that have worked at the club. And yeah, I was kind of almost indoctrinated into Gillingham Football Club at a very early age.
Yeah, I remember my first game. My first game was the City playoff final. My dad managed to get tickets for the game despite not being a fan and dragged me along. I actually think he took my uncle's tickets to get us to the game. So, yeah, that's how I fell in love with Gillingham on that day despite the results. So yeah, David.
Yeah, but just off the back of what you just said there, Matt, who in your family has played for the Gills?
So there was a guy called Kenny Cass. I don't know if you would have ever heard him. He's sort of late 60s, early 70s. He actually became a scout at Gillingham Football Club for a period of time and even scouted me. But unfortunately, a knee injury meant I was unable to go for my trial. But yeah, I've actually worked there myself as well. Sort of during the early the early 2000s. I used to go down there, work in the summertime, working on going over and helping out on the pitch with the ground staff, cleaning boots, doing whatever I could to be involved with Gillingham Football Club. It's always been a club that's been close to my heart. And look, don't get me wrong, there's been some highs, there's been some lows, which obviously we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But this club is everything to me.
Excellent. So when you went to your first game, how did that come about? And when was it?
Oh, I could not even tell. I was about 5 years old when I went to my very first game with my dad. I couldn't tell you what the score was. I couldn't even tell you who was playing apart from the fact that Gills were there. But I was told to come along and we were going to watch the game. I do believe we won the game. But my dad just said every time I was on the way home, I just did not stop talking about the game and sort of how good it was and how much I wanted to keep going back. Look, the club has said, with all the highs and lows, it will always be my club. It'll always be your club. It's the club we'll always get behind. But I just knew from that early age that this was always going to be my team. I know a lot of young kids when they're growing up, they'll be, oh, I'm going to support Liverpool and Gillingham, or I'm going to support Man United and Gillingham. For me, it was always one team, and that was the Gills.
Perfect. I want to throw in a couple of quick fire questions for you before we really start delving in. And they're important questions. So Matt, burger or pie?
Ooh, burger.
Stand or sit?
Stand.
Coach or train?
Train.
And Bovril, yes or no?
No.
Definite. It's a definite no.
Don't do hot drinks, full stop.
Yeah, it's a definite no. So, since you've been going, do you have a favourite memory, a particular favourite moment since you've been supporting the Gills?
Yeah, I mean, where does the list end? I would say probably top of that list has got to be Andy Thompson's goal against Wigan in the playoff final. Hence, as you can see, I'm wearing the new kit, obviously designed on that kit. But, obviously with what happened the year before, losing to Man City and watching Weaver run up and, just the elation on his face. And I just thought, is this going to be, second time we're here in 2 seasons? Are we going to lose again? And as soon as that Andy Thompson goal hit the back of the net, that was it. I knew we were going up and we weren't going to let go of this that lead. But funny enough, afterwards, I got a chance to meet Andy Thompson. The ties that they actually wore that day, I asked if I could have it, and he gave it to me.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've got that somewhere in the house. Honestly, it was that goal for me. What an important goal it was to send us obviously up into the championship, and just wow. I mean, it's just, even now I've got the hair standing on my arms and the back of my neck. Just what a moment that was.
Well, it's rich in folklore now, isn't it, with the Gills, that goal? Written, well, as much as the pictures from the year before of Nicky Weaver running around, Andy Thompson running off with his arms in the air is as big for us as that was for them.
And as I say, I actually think because obviously I was at the game, and when I got home, my mum had recorded it for us, so I could watch it back, see if I could spot myself in the crowd. But the one thing that always gets me is the commentator with "Gooden." Oh, that is a good un. It just what a moment to be a Gills fan that was.
Right, exactly. Next question. I'm gonna put 2 spins on this question. So your favourite player, and then like your guilty pleasure player.
Oh, a guilty pleasure player. Well, okay. Do you know what? Guilty pleasure. Oh, I'm trying to think because you've asked me a question later on, which about the Fab Four. He's not going to be my guilty pleasure. I'm not going to use that one, but I'm going to go Nicky Southall, and I'll tell you why. He always seemed, when he didn't have the ball, like he was lazy on the pitch, but you could see that little clock just ticking in his head, what next move to make, what run to make, what ball to pass. He was a player that all my mates would go, oh, he's amazing. I'd go, yeah, he's not that. But actually, I think deep down inside, and that goal against Sheffield Wednesday. Oh,
and do you think that the fact that he played so many positions probably hampers people's view on him?
I think it does. He's, he was sort of the old Robbie McKenzie, isn't he? You could play him anywhere, but he had a really good footballing brain on him, although everyone seemed to call him Trigger. But he had a really good footballing brain on him. On to my favourite player, though, and same era, Mr. Gillingham himself, it has to be Andy Hessenthaler. I remember my very first... I got an autograph book, and the very first autograph I had in that book was Andy Hessenthaler's. And, he was always the player that, I wanted to make sure he was playing. I wanted to make sure he was on the pitch. For me, the tenacity, the drive. We look back the other night, that George Lapsey effort that he had, which against Barrow, which he never should have got off. That was Andy Hessenthaler all in one. He would just not give up, never say die attitude until the final whistle. And I believe that spurred on his teammates. That drive, that kind of fight that he had, I think his teammates almost sort of drew off of that. But yeah, he was by far my favourite player. But yeah, I'd say Trigger is probably my almost my guilty pleasure.
How many games do you reckon that Hess would play nowadays with the way the refs throw out cards?
Oh, so hang on. So there's 45 games a season, 3-game ban, so maybe 6. Yeah, he would be in and out of a ref's book so much. But I mean, again, it was a completely different game back there. These tackles would come flying in, and you would never get any sort of, nobody rolling around the floor. Oh no, I've hurt myself, and then 2 seconds later they're up running around. You never get that back then. But yeah, Andy Hessenthaler just even think of him now, just bombing up and down the pitch. And some of those last minute saving tackles that he used to make. He is the definition of what a Gillingham player should be. Any current Gillingham player, if they want to know what it takes to be a Gillingham player, watch any highlights of Andy Hessenthaler, because it's what we are about.
I agree, and even when you look in the old Division 2, which is League One for the younger listeners, him and Sean Gregan, the Division 2 Vieira and Keane, some of those battles were phenomenal.
They were, and we're going to talk about your memorable match, but the game that always gets me and the never say die attitude was the Stoke match in the playoff semi-finals, because he did not stop running that entire game, and he was not afraid to make a tackle. And even then, that was when sort of refs were starting to be a bit more card happy. But he was not afraid to make a tackle, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was playing in today's era. There'd be a quite a few red cards on his tally there.
Excellent. So yeah, as you mentioned, the most memorable match you've attended, and the reason that match sticks in your head.
It was that Stoke versus Gillingham match. It was my very first away day. I was allowed to go on alone without my parents. I actually went with one of my best friends at the time, Robin, and I mean, just the atmosphere. Obviously, they obviously they were sort of 3-1 up. Obviously, at one point, I remember a fan of theirs come running on the pitch and sort of giving it all the large. Yeah, we're 3-1 up, and I was just feeling really dejected, And then all of a sudden, Andy Hessenthaler picks the ball up sort of 30 yards out and hits it. And I remember turning to my friend Robin and went, "It's in!" And then it hit in the back of the net. And even on the sort of the ride home in the coach, we were all singing, we were all shouting, just so amazed, because we knew getting them back to Priestfield, Fortress Priestfield is what it was. We were going to turn them over then. And a 1-goal deficit was nothing compared to if it had been a 2-goal deficit. But yeah, that goal, I mean, again, lives in Gills folklore, because I mean, what a stunner it was.
It's the best goal I've ever. If you ask me to pick my favourite ever Gillingham goal, that's my favourite ever Gillingham goal.
Yeah, I would probably say that is right up there with probably my favourite ever. Maybe close second would be Tommy's from a few seasons ago against Portsmouth, but I mean, just the importance. I think it's not just the goal itself, but the importance of getting the goal at that moment in time when it looked like we were pretty much could have been heading out, because all Stoke would have had to do is come and just defend and defend and defend. But that real tenacity, gets the ball out on the wing, cuts inside, about 30 yards out, and rifles it into the top right hand corner. I mean, just what a goal that was.
Kieran, what about you? What about your what was your favourite Gills goal?
My favourite Gills goal?
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't had time to think about that. There's been a lot of years. I'll tell you my favourite goal this season, because that's fresh in my memory. So far, my favourite goal this season was Jayden Clark's first, because he got so much stick last season. And to see him score, and to see his reaction to the opposition fans after he scored, And just to see the relief on his face and the fact he's hit the ground running this season, I'm so thrilled for him. I'll come back to you on historic, my favourite goal, but this season it was Jaden Clark's first, because last season he got so much stick, and what people seem to forget is Jaden Clark came to us from Dulwich Hamlet, and it's quite a different ball game playing for a team like Dulwich Hamlet. It's like Marcus Wiley's going to have this season. He's not going to score 10, 15, 20 goals this season because he's got to adapt to League Two, as comfortable as he looks. And that was Jaden Clark's season last season, to adapt, and now he's adapted and he's going to bang in loads of goals, hopefully. So, yeah, my favourite goal for this season was Jaden Clark's first, just for those reasons. So,
perfect. Bring us a little bit more up to date, and we'll talk about the current team. So what do you make of the current state of the team and the new management system? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, first off, I'm going to have to say, I was absolutely gutted that Clements got sacked. Obviously, not 2 weeks earlier, Brad had come out and said, he's the man going forward, and I was really sort of willing to back Clements. That being said, what a great choice they've had in picking Mark Bonner. What an excellent choice. Really down to earth, good guy. Love the way he comes out, and he's so fresh and honest in his sort of after action reports of the game. I actually haven't seen, obviously we're recording this on the Thursday, I haven't seen today's press conference, but I know exactly what I'm going to get from him. He's going to be honest. He's going to let us know, and I almost feel sort of safe in his hands. And the squad he's built, it's a really good squad. Obviously, I know we've had a lot of players left over from last season, but obviously getting Elliot Nevitt in, Rowan, obviously Wakeling, Ewan Williams. These are very good players going forward, and he really does seem to have a really good squad depth there. We've seen it, this season. We've not had really at any point what we would call our best 11 out on the pitch at any point this season. So going forward, once these players return from injury, I'm really excited to see what he can get out of these players.
You got a prediction for where you think we're going to finish this season?
Well, I would normally say, if we're playing Man United, we're going to beat them 7-0. So it's got to be top. It's got to be top. That's my hopes. It's my dreams. But realistically, nothing less than playoffs, I think. After last year, I know Brad and Shannon would have said to Mark, playoffs is an absolute minimum.
No, I agree. But if you winning a league would be nice, winning the playoffs would be nice, but I would take third. Get us out of this division. I think we need to get out of it now.
Anything to get out of the division, yeah. But look, don't get me wrong. Love to do the playoffs, trip to Wembley. How amazing that would be. But I just want to get it done in regulation season, top of the league. Thank you very much, and then go and win League One next year.
Love it. So we bring a bit of a gloom down to the talk now. So what's been the most challenging moment you've had since you've been a Gillingham supporter?
To be honest, I would have had to said it was a couple of years ago, before obviously the Gallisons took over. Not just look, my own mental health. I've had ups and downs with it recently, but especially at that time, I was really suffering, and sort of Gills was always my release. Going to a Priestfield, going to watch a game, it just took me away from everything for 90 minutes. But then the team were playing so poorly. There was no sort of real cohesion there. You could hear it from the stands as well. Everyone, how upset everyone was. And I'll be honest, it was really tough to watch. I know there's people out there that are, not Scally fans. Look, I will always forever be grateful that he saved our club. Back in 1995, we were literally on the brink of not existing anymore. So I'll always be thankful for that. But at the same time, he needed to move on. And I'm just so grateful that Brad and Shannon came in, because the lift that it's given everyone around the club has been excellent. But that, that was a really tough period. I said, especially with my own mental health being the way it was. And then obviously the results on the pitch being so poor. I mean, what was it? 7 goals in like 4 months or whatever it was. It's, that's a ridiculous stat. And, we deserved, especially on that first half of the season, we deserved to be going down to National League. And that's really the way it looked like it was going to happen. But yeah, thankfully, Brandon Shannon came along and now we're flying high, the right end of the division.
And now that they are here, how do you see the future of the club moving forward? And like 5 years' time, where would you like the Gills to be?
Brandon Shannon have come out and they've said the correct things in the fact that they are the custodians of this football club. They're here to look after it. And that they understand that looking after it doesn't just mean taking money out of the club. It means also investing money back into the club. And look, I'd love to get the Gillingham end, as I like to call it, back to safe standing. How amazing that would be! That would be great if they could do that. Maybe in 10 years' time, if we're getting higher numbers, let's look at potentially moving stadium. But I feel comfortable that they are involved. I had the pleasure of meeting them the other day, and I said the same thing to you guys. I said to them is that if I have a problem with them, if I think they're doing something wrong, I will tell them. I'll come out and say that. As a fan of the Gillingham Football Club, that is my right. I get to do that. Doesn't mean necessarily they're going to change, but they may take what I say on board. And I advise any fan, if you think the club are doing anything wrong, if you have a grievance, reach out. That's what you have to do. It's the best thing to do because Brandon Shannon are willing to listen to us. And that's the key thing. They know football without fans will be nothing. So it's without us, they wouldn't have this team. And they wouldn't be dreaming about getting into League One next year. So they do rely on us to be as open and honest when things are going great and when things are going bad. So, yeah, I am really looking forward to them being in charge for hopefully the next 25 years.
I mean, I think the attendances from just before the takeover to now is testament to what a good job they're doing. And the fact is, we're getting what the high sixes, low 7,000s at Priestfield again, and I think that's just testament to the good work that's going on by them right now.
They've basically doubled the attendances. Coming in and giving a boost and a lift to everyone involved at the club.
When you think about it, they haven't actually changed the prices, have they? From memory of like match day prices, I don't think they've reduced them. So no. We're still making the same money, well, more money because more people are coming. But yeah, they haven't exactly gone, we'll throw £10 tickets to get more people in. They've kept everything the same. And what they've done has got more people to come into the ground.
I mean, it's the small improvements like having the little fan zone in the Rainham end and, even coming into the factory after a game and coming around and talking to people. And, these little things, you're making the club feel more accessible. I mean, look, you guarantee you go to a Man United game, you go to a Liverpool game and you go into their bar afterwards, you're not seeing any of their players or their owners or the management staff come around and talk to you. Lower league, you're going to get that. And again, this is a testament to what they're trying to bring to the club. I think, say all credit to them because, this is ultimately the correct way to run a football club is by listening to your fans and actually interacting with them.
Yeah, I went to 2 of the games down there in the Euros and they were there both games. And if I went to the bar to get a drink and Brad was there, he'd happily talk to you. It wasn't like, I'm just going to get my drink and go and sit down. He was talking to anyone that would go up to him. People, if you wanted pictures, happy to talk, happy to answer questions. And I just think the way they engage it's like you said, it's a breath of fresh air. It's refreshing.
I mean, yeah, they are business people at the end of the day. You look at obviously what they've done over in the States. The business is going to be their ultimate key here. They're going to want this business to make money. But even stuff like the advertising, they've got the LED advertising now. They've got the crowd-facing advertisement. I think they've like trebled or whatever the amount of advertisements they've had previously. So again, they're bringing money into the club. Kent is such a huge area. Why are we not attacking it? And why are we not trying to get all these people back in? I mean, how many Charlton fans that live in Kent that that get a coach up, because years ago that's what how Charlton got their fans. They put on these, so they're looking at these different ways of trying to get people back into the club, and it's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so a breath of fresh air, and the fact that I said they are willing to listen and talk to us is really key for me, and shows that they want this club to succeed. They're not just here to make a quick buck. They want the club to succeed as a whole.
I agree. So Gillingham, what makes us different and special compared to other clubs?
For me, I mean, we're the home of the shouting men. I'll give you guys a little plug there. But we are. There is nothing more like going and sitting in the Rain of Men, bumping into all your friends you haven't seen for a week, and chatting about how good the game's going to be and what we expect. And there's just a real nice feel around the club. I've never met a bad Gillingham fan, if that makes sense. I know we have got a few bad apples, obviously, in the club, but I've never actually met a bad Gillingham fan. Everyone is so friendly, even so all the other podcasters, they're always happy to have a chat with you. Even like Joe Comper, okay, we'll forgive him the fact he's a Crawley fan, but he's willing to sit and have a chat with you about Gillingham. Phil, the media guy, I mean, his knowledge when it comes to Gillingham Football Club is just immense. He's been at the club for years and years, but his knowledge on the club is amazing. There's just a real community feel about the club. I love the fact that the stands are basically on top of the pitch. You get right by the action. For me, and there's nothing like hearing the last waltz sung on a match day, from the Rain of Men. What a sound it is. Although the timing from a lot of them does need to be sorting out, because they try and rush through it. But for me, it's just nothing like being there on a match day, and even travelling away. When we go away, I mean, look how we go away in our hundreds and hundreds of fans away. Was it like 1,000 nearly at Notts County the other day? What other League Two team can say that they're taking nearly 1,000 fans away with them? There's nothing like Gillingham, I don't think. And I do think, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Gillingham fan, but I think we are probably the best away travelling fans in the country.
Especially for the distances we travel.
We're definitely consistently up there. Even the hard games like Barrow and Carlisle. And we took, 400 to Morecambe, and a similar number to Fleetwood. And even on a Tuesday night to Cardiff, there was over 100, Swansea, there was over 100 there. So, Gills fans travel in their hundreds, even on a Tuesday night, and not many other clubs do that. Fair play to the Grimsby Town fans that came to us.
I mean, they
Tuesday night.
Didn't they?
Just over 150.
It's a long way to come.
On a Tuesday night as well. When you were seeing Salford, who took 49 away. So
just down the road.
Yeah, exactly. So I always look at the away attendances and always see us and Grimsby are probably the best followed away teams, and maybe Bradford.
No, I totally agree with you on that one.
So one question I've got for you, Matt, as you mentioned the last waltz before kickoff, for or against?
I'm totally for it if the timing gets sorted out, because it almost feels like everyone's trying to beat everyone else to finish it first, and I just think if you actually slow it down, it becomes more dramatic, more intimidating for the away fans and the away players, because otherwise it just sounds like a bit of a mess at the moment. But I love the fact that we're doing it, and I love the fact it's been implemented since last season. Just slow it down, guys. Just please.
I mean, if they slowed it down, it could almost be a smaller version of You'll Never Walk Alone at Anfield. I mean, you're never going to beat that. That is the pinnacle of fans singing. But a League Two version of that, if we got it right,
it would be immense.
It would be immense at Priestfield.
I am glad though now that they took the words off of the boards that were going round, because it looked a bit amatory at the start, as if we were singing a Gillingham song, but no one knew the words, so they had to put it up. So I'm glad that that's gone.
I'll say next thing you know, it'll be in the back of the matchday program, you know, the lyrics for the song. Or get Amu to come to a page of all of his songs for all the players that he's done. You know, that'd be quite good, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, only a couple more, Matt. I don't think I'll let you know about this one, but favourite ground you've been to?
Watching Gills.
Watching Gills, yeah.
And you're not allowed to say Priestfield.
And you can't say Priestfield yet, and you can't say Wembley.
Well, I was going to say it would have been the original Wembley, because I mean that was just walking up the Wembley Way towards the Twin Towers. Still gutted that they've knocked them down.
It doesn't even have to be that it's the most shiniest. It's something that you just liked about going to that ground. It could be like you might have been to Luton and you liked the quirkiness of Luton. It doesn't have to be shiny. Just the ground that you liked going to.
Upton Park. Do you
never
know
went there.
Upton Park.
Yeah, I never got to go there.
It kind of almost gave me a bit of Gillingham feels, where it was almost right on top of the players, but West Ham. Some West Ham fans get a bit of a bad name. I've never met a bad West Ham fan again. I thought they were great. I loved going to the game. I think when we went, actually, they were doing some filming. We went to go and see Gillingham play West Ham at Upton Park, and they were doing some filming for. Is that one of those football hooligan? Green Street. Yeah, it was Green Street. And then I remember watching it back and then going that some supposedly we're from up north.
Yeah, it was West Ham Birmingham, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. But no, I really did like Upton Park, and actually the noise from the Hammers fans coming out was amazing as well.
Perfect. And now on to the final segment. So, calling it the Fab Four. So you can pick one player from each position. And just to let you know, at the end of the season, Kieran and I are going to put together an 11 based on our guests' teams. So we will start with you, Matt, and your goalkeeper.
Well, it was a toss-up between two. Going to give myself a sly little plug here. One of them who didn't make it, we have coming on to our show, The View from the Medway, in a few weeks, was Vince Bartram. But the goalkeeper I decided to go with in the end had to be big fat Jim Stannard.
What did Jim do that Vince didn't?
So when back in the day, whenever we'd go to Gillingham, we would always stand in the Gillingham end. And do you know what? Jim would always come over and say hello to the kids. He had that excellent season where I think he only conceded, like 11 goals or something stupid like that. It was 20 odd clean sheets or whatever it was. It was a ridiculous stat. But for me, there was just nothing like hearing him bellow and shout at his defence, because they would listen. He had a really good footballing brain as well, but you could tell that. But the players listened to him. If he told you where you got to go, you went and stood there. He really did command that box, and what unbelievable goalkeeper he was.
Let's move on to defence.
Again, defending, there's a bit of a one. Probably you wouldn't get this from anyone else, but for me, it was Nyman Norsworthy. Really liked him. I really liked him as a defender. I thought he was. Obviously, he ended up going on and having a really good career higher up, obviously up the leagues. But for me, I really liked what I saw with him, and I was absolutely heartbroken when we got rid of him. Obviously, I understand.
He was another utility man, wasn't he? Another one that played all over the place.
But I was absolutely heartbroken when he went, because I really liked him. I thought he was a cracking little player, and he proved us right, because look, he ended up playing in the Premier League for a good few seasons.
Didn't he score? Didn't he play up front and score a few goals was it against Palace or?
I think so, yeah. And then it was, he would mainly be moved around sort of the back area, or sort of, either defensive midfield, defence. But yeah, he again, a bit of a utility man, could play anywhere.
One of my very good friends is a Sunderland fan, and knew I was a Gills fan, and Nyman Norsworthy is one of my favourite players that have ever played for Gills. And as a joke, he got me a Sunderland signed shirt with Nyman Norsworthy.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was. It was awful.
At least you got a signature from him. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got it. I've still got it. I didn't get rid of it, but it is, the only shame is it's not on a Gills shirt.
Yeah.
Well, from your answer earlier, we're moving to midfield, but I think I might know who's going to be this midfield player.
It's Andy Hessenthaler. Yeah, I mean, I'll go on record and say this. I don't think, especially in my lifetime, we're going to see another player who had so much of an impact on one club. You forget, he didn't start playing professional football till he was, 26 years old? So he came into the game really late. But boy, did he give us some of his best years. And I'm so glad, that I actually got to see him play live on so many occasions.
I just think him and his partnership with Paul Smith as well.
Oh, it was an absolute dream. And again, their sixth sense and the way they connected with each other, and sort of didn't really even have to shout and talk to each other. It's just they always seemed to know where each other was going to be. It was a great partnership. But yeah, Andy Hessenthaler gets that for me.
Is there a famous story with Ken Bates? I never know if it's true. The Ken Bates story with Hess and that Chelsea Cup game.
I heard something. Wasn't it something like he was asked about training or playing for them or something?
It was as if he was asking someone like who that number 8 was for Gillingham, because he was interested in him, not knowing that it was a 34-year-old, 35-year-old
man. Yeah,
but
but that game.
I don't know if that's true or if that's just one of those things that's kind of.
It's something I've heard a couple of times, so I think maybe there might be some truth to it. But again, it shows you the character of the man. He was 35 years old, running around still, giving like an 18-year-old would, and if you didn't know, you probably would think he was still quite young.
Right, and on to the final position, forwards. Which one are you picking?
For me, it was a toss-up between a fairly modern striker in Cody McDonald and again, you'll see I'm going for all slightly older ones here. Hopefully, some of your viewers may want to go back and have a look at, but it's got to be Carlos Saba.
You're on the right channel for Carlos Saba.
Yeah, obviously how important that the goal, obviously the goals that he scored for us were. I still remember that little flick that he did to Bob Taylor for the second goal against Man City. Again, that sixth sense of just knowing where your strike partner was going to be. And again, obviously for me, I'm 40 years old next year, so I've grew up. These were the sort of the players of my generation. Carlos Saba was just such a good player, and again, you had to make some money on him and we had to let him go. But again, it was a bit heartbreaking that he had to go.
Whilst we're talking of Carlos Saba, say hello to Carla, who's named after Carlos Saba.
Hello, Carla Saba.
Yeah.
Saba's my favourite ever Gills player.
Yeah, mine as well. 100%. That's why she's named after him.
Was it the Luton game when it was chucking it down with rain and he scored that ridiculous goal from in front of the old Medway stand? Old Medway stand.
Yeah, well, God, that's some few years back, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I remember that because I just don't know how that even happened.
Well, the thing is, the players of that sort of era, and that sounds weird, they take more chances. They felt like they almost had more freedom on the pitch. You see it nowadays; it's very rigid. The way some of their passing is, it's always back to front, back across the line. Where back there, it was. You get the ball, 40 yards out, have a pop if the goalkeeper's off his line because you might score, and that's what he did, and flew into the back of the net. But obviously, as an absolute guide that we did sell him, but by far, probably, he's up there with one of the greatest to have ever put on a Gillingham shirt.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not gonna disagree with you.
I'm not going to argue with that either. So
yeah, well, that is your Fab Four. So that's going to take some beating. That is the end of the interview. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. Everyone likes a little walk down memory lane. It's nice to talk about the now, but it's also really nice to talk about the past as well. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. That was a lot of fun to go and reliving some of my my old memories from back in the day.
So, Matt, I haven't told you this, but I'm now going to give you 5 minutes to plug the view from the Medway. So go. Yeah,
so the view from the Medway, myself and my co-host Chris, we've decided to do basically a live every Monday evening from 8 o'clock, a live chat just all about Gills. We're going to get guests on every week. I think obviously Kieran, you've been on and come on and had a chat with us. And we're also going to be doing stuff like interviews with some older players. We're also trying to look at getting club staff on. So we're not looking at just getting, Mark Bonner, but we want to hear from some of the backroom staff, like Phil, the media guy. Let him tell us about what he does. But yeah, the view from the Medway is all about fans. It's for fans. It's letting fans know everything that's going on at our club. And yeah, please, if you haven't, please like and subscribe on YouTube and Twitter.
On the last page of what I've got on, what's coming up next, all of our social medias are on there, including the view from the Medway. I haven't put your personal one on there, Matt, because I didn't know it at the time of writing. But I have put the view from the Medways on there.
I'll say definitely go and check the guys out. They're doing some really good stuff.
We did a great interview a few weeks ago with Guy Butters, who had some incredible stories about Gaza, of all people. So definitely go back and have a watch of that. Gaza and the ice cream unicorn. That's all I'll say.
The ice cream unicorn. Yeah, that was a really good interview.
Yeah,
really good.
I'll say we've got coming up as well. I will give you a little bit of a teaser. So we've got coming up this month. We've got Steve Lovell coming on. Following month, we've got Vince Bartram. And we have managed to get a Christmas present for all you Gills fans. We have managed to get Mark Halsey. Yes, Mark Halsey.
Oh, wow.
Famous referee. So, I've always said the first question will be, so Mark, 5 minutes?
It will be interesting to see what he will answer. I hope he's honest.
To be honest, look, I mean, I'm not going to be going on there to rip him a new one because, I mean, luckily I've done a lot of research about Mark, and actually his whole backstory and what he's been through is absolutely incredible. He's been an incredible journey, and I'm kind of proud to be able to bring it to the Gills fans.
That'd be a good one.
That'll be a good one, but I would like to know about the 5 minutes. Even if that's the only question you ask him about that game, I would like to know about the 5 minutes.
That and
Andy's choice of hotel, yeah.
Yeah. So we're bringing this show today in partnership with the German Gills channel. So go check out Reese and the content he does. It's brilliant. And also our new partners that we announced on Twitter. X. Yesterday, was it? Gillingham Legends. Check out their website. Check out Gillingham Legends on X. They do some fantastic stuff, absolutely fantastic stuff. So go and check it out. Again, all the information's on the last page of what we're about to show you, and we're going to go into a very, very brief review now of this month. And if I click the right button, that is. There we go. So that's the wrong slide.
It's a good view, though.
It should be that slide. So September's results started off with a 2-1 loss to Peterborough in the cup no one cares about, followed by a 1-0 away defeat to Doncaster. I was at that game. It was really, really poor from us. But then we bounced back with a 3-0 home win against Tranmere. Also getting a red card in that game. Good old Ethan Coleman getting sent off in that. Followed by a really good but scrappy 1-0 win against Notts County. And then a 3-1 loss again in the cup nobody cares about against Crystal Palace. Matt, what was your standout moment of September from the games that you've seen and been to?
Do you know what? I would say standout moment had to be, both of the goals that Jayden Clark scored against Tranmere. It was against Doncaster, wasn't it? Where he had that absolutely horrific miss.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was the best thing to ever happen to him, I think. That missing that chance. I mean, look, he would have been on socials. He would have seen all the stick he was getting, and he finally got to silence and shut up all those critics. And then the celebration after the second goal, the little, to the away fans. I love that. And it's really turned him into the player that I knew he would be. He is a real talent. But as you said earlier, Kieran, he's come up from Dulwich Hamlet. League Two is obviously a big step up. A lot of people won't think it is, but it is a big step up. And we're really starting to see the player that the Gillingham management team and the scouts that they saw. I mean, it was two fantastic goals. Obviously, the second one he got a bit lucky with the goalkeeper saving it, and then the ball falling nicely to him. But he's been absolutely excellent, and obviously topped it off the other day on Saturday with another good goal.
I would just like to quickly point out I have missed out Barrow at the bottom of that. We also beat Barrow 2-0. Stephen Clemence's return to Priestfield. David, what was your standout moment of September?
Even though the game wasn't that great, Elliot Nevitt's goal against Notts County, the fact that we had a Gillingham player run through on goal and you didn't think he was going to miss, and the through ball by Hutton, that's what I want. Since Cody McDonald, unless I've forgotten someone, there's not many Gills strikers that when they're through on goal, you think goal. And as soon as Nevitt was through, for some reason, even though it was his first league goal, you just never thought he was going to miss. And obviously to go there and beat them when they were top of the league, I just think that's my moment of September.
For me, it is the way that we pulled back together against Tranmere after Ethan Coleman got sent off to then go on and score 2 goals and basically take the game up another level to be able to, one, defend and hold the 1-0 lead we had and then go on to score 2 more goals. For me, that's just... You don't see many teams go down to 10 men and then score 2 goals. They're usually lucky to hold on, let alone go on and score 2 more. And it seems like rather than us collapsing with 10 men, Tranmere collapsed and then couldn't handle us with 10 men. And for me, we've not had that in a Gills squad for a while where we have the belief to keep going even with less men on the field. And we did it when Max Samer got sent off as well against Chesterfield. And for me, I'm not going to lie, after the Tuesday result, which we'll talk about in the next show, I was sort of hoping if we get someone sent off and then go on and win the game. But it didn't happen, and we didn't win the game. We lost, and probably deservedly so. But yeah, and also for me, I love Marcus Wiley, and Marcus Wiley scoring against Crystal Palace, under 21s, not under 23s. I can't wait to see what happens to Marcus Wiley if he kicks on this season and has a real go of it, or if he kicks on next season like Jayden Clark has in his second season at the club. So yeah, that's for me. League table, we're still top, despite losing on Tuesday night. How long are we going to stay there, guys?
End of season.
Yeah, hopefully all season. It's just a shame when the results from Tuesday couldn't have gone any better for us, and we unfortunately didn't do our part. So could have been a nice bigger gap from us to fourth. But yeah, I still see no reason that we can't finish in the top 3 from what I've seen. So we had a really tough fixtures to start the season, and to be where we are, cannot complain.
As I say, I generally feel we should be there or thereabouts, up near the top come the end of the season. But you look at Walsall the other night against Fleetwood, losing 6-2. It's still a league where anyone can beat anyone, and we need to not be complacent. We need to keep our focus about us, take each day in as it comes, and as Mark Bonner always alludes to, as soon as that game finishes, you look forward. You're looking at the next one, planning and prepping, and again, if we can keep our defence solid at the back, this is one of those seasons where I know we're going to be able to score going forward. So if we can just keep solid at the back, then we should be absolutely fine.
I have 2 of these league tables now with Gillingham at the top at the end of both months, so I'm quite happy to keep them. So yeah, hopefully long may it continue. Going into looking forward to October, we've got a fair amount of travelling to do again over the next month, up north to Accrington and then back to Wales for Newport County. No, that's wrong. Crewe and Bradford, should I say? Travelling to Crewe and Bradford, and then we end the month at Swindon, with Accrington and Newport making the long journeys to Priestfield. I, for one, can't see any reason why we can't come out with 10 or 12 points from this month. What do you guys think?
10 as a minimum.
Yeah.
I think, any team that wants to realistically think about getting out of League Two, you need to be averaging about 2 points a game. So 5 games there, average 2 points a game, you'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm of the motto, win your home games, draw your away games. I think that would only give us 9 there. So that, if you can somehow maybe pinch an away game. But if you offered me 9 or 10 points out of that, I'd be more than happy.
I mean, I think we agreed on 7 last month, didn't we? And we came out with 9. So we're doing fairly well with our predictions at the minute. So I'll stick with 10 points for this month, and let's see how we go with that. That now brings us to what's the standout game? What's the most the biggest game for you there, Matt?
I mean, on paper, you'd look at probably Bradford. They do still get good crowds for League Two. But for me, I think the sort of the most important game is that one at the very, very bottom where we play good old Swindon Town.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been to the last 2 away games at Bradford, and I think we drew 1 and lost 1. Did we lose last season away, or did we draw? I think we lost, didn't we?
Didn't we win 1-0?
No, we won 1-0 at home, didn't we?
I
we
could Google it, but
I can't remember. But either way, they weren't memorable performances. Although, actually, the first Bradford one was the 3-3 draw.
Yeah.
Where Ollie Hawkins scored a brilliant goal. So that was quite memorable. That was brilliant. And it was not long after that the whole teams like Gillingham came along from a Bradford fan who will not be named. And that sort of went semi-viral amongst Gillingham fans every time we won or drew a game after that. So, David, for you, most important game this month?
I said, the Swindon one does jump out at you, but I always have a fear with us at home against teams near the bottom that we seem to always struggle against the team near the bottom. And when you look at our next home game is against the team who are bottom, who haven't won a game, you've got to be beaten. You've got to be beaten.
It reminds me of Forest Green last season, who we just couldn't beat.
Yeah, for some reason, we've just always seemed to struggle with the teams near the bottom. So obviously, we always want to do well against Swindon. But for me, both of those home games are must-win games. If we're serious about promotion, you've got to be beating Accrington and Newport at home.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want revenge for last season, for Neil Harris's last game with Crewe. I was at that game last season. It was an awful night. And I think it was a Tuesday night. It was cold. It was wet. And we lost 3-0. And we didn't put a shot on target until right at the end of the game. So for me, I want to see a big win against Crewe on Saturday. It probably won't be a big win. If we win, it will be 1-0 or 2-1. But I want to see a measure of revenge for last season. Bradford, I want to see us win at Bradford. And yeah, obviously the big one is Swindon. We love our games against Swindon, don't we? So yeah, right. That is the end of today's show. Thank you very much for joining us, Matt. As you can see on the screen, now you've got all of the social medias, including German Gills and Gin and SC Legends. Go check them out, and also go check out the View from the Medway. I've just realised I spelled from wrong. But yeah, and definitely go check out that Guy Butters interview. It was fantastic. Yeah, View throw the Medway. So thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, Chris, we're changing our name.
We've can I mention the interview that I've been working on over the last couple of days? Yeah. So we've got a very big interview of ourselves coming up in the next month. And I didn't want to say straight after what you did, but we've got former Gillingham striker, current Ashford United manager Danny Kedwell coming on, which will be brilliant. And we're just trying to arrange a date that is avoiding his training schedule and game schedule at Ashford United. But yeah, Danny Kedwell's coming on the show, which is going to be fantastic. We've got. I won't mention the other one because it's not been confirmed yet, and I think he's ghosting David. So that one we won't mention right now.
And hard to get.
But we'll announce that if that comes to fruition. And we're also working on. We're also talking with Martin Allen as well to come on the show as well, which is going to be brilliant. So hopefully we can pull that one off. It's looking good. So. But the one that's ghosting David, we won't talk about for now. So thank you very much for joining us, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
And enjoy the month. Enjoy the games. What games are you going to this month, Matt?
Well, I'm going to have to check my schedule with work, but yeah, I'll try and get to both the home games this year. This month. And if I can, I may try and get tickets for Bradford as well.
What about you, David? What are you planning on going to this month?
I'm just the home ones this month. I've got my eye on a few away games, but got to try and work around the wife with the young kids that have to pick my games wisely.
Yeah, the fact that I live in Manchester, I very rarely get to Priestfield these days. I'll be at Crewe on Saturday. I'm hoping to be at Bradford as well. I've only done Doncaster this season so far, so I'm a little bit disappointed in myself, especially as we had Fleetwood and Morecambe back to back. But yeah, so for now, hopefully Bradford, definitely Crewe on Saturday. So, and I'll be back on the German Gills show on Saturday as well, doing my piece as well. So that'll be fun. I always enjoy doing a German Gills show. So thank you very much again for joining us. And this was the Shouting Men podcast.